Welcome to Category 5 Technology TV, episode number 377 for Tuesday, the 9th of December, 2014. I'm your host, Robbie Ferguson.
And I'm Kelsey Jensen.
Today I'm excited because 3D printing is making its way to mainstream consumers, home printers that you can print at home. And we've got Tom here from Poieo 3D. He's going to demonstrate one of those 3D printers to us today. We're going to talk to him about their new family-friendly, kid-safe 3D printer in just a couple of minutes' time. Excited about that.
Yes, me too.
Sasha Dermatis, how are you?
Great. Hi, Robbie.
Hey.
Hello. Here is what's coming up in the Category 5.tv newsroom. The situation at Sony Pictures following a hack attack is much worse than originally thought, with personal information, social security numbers, and even home addresses being compromised, not just for staff, but even actors. IBM has found a way to reduce e-waste, help less fortunate, and provide cheap power. Sounds like a win-win. British chip designer Imagination has produced a bare-bones computer to compete with the Raspberry Pi. And in Linux gaming news, BioShock Infinite may be coming to Linux. Stick around. The full details are coming up later in the show.
This is Category 5 Technology TV. Starring Sasha Dermatis, Hillary Rumble, Krista Wells, Eric Kidd, and your host, Robbie Ferguson.
This is Category 5 Technology TV. I'm Robbie Ferguson, and I'm joined today by Tom and Matthew Zelenka, who are a part of this company that's manufacturing this. It's called Poieo. I'm going to get you to talk all about it, but this is cool. This is a lot smaller than I was expecting.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you two here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Can you tell us about the company and what it is that you're doing with Poieo?
Well, I guess to start out, how we started out is a number of different families who just love technology. And when we looked at the world today, we saw a changing environment where 3D printing was really a transformational technology, changing anything in terms of manufacturing or how parts are made to how parts will be delivered. I mean, today, a company may, make a pair of shoes, and they'll make 20 different sizes and 6 different colors, and 80% of those will end up sitting on the shelf, right? Not being purchased and being sold off.
That's interesting. I've never thought that.
So imagine the day, and it's probably not too far off, where you order a pair of shoes on Amazon or wherever your favorite site, and you pick the size, the color, and it just gets printed right there and then. So there's no waste, right? And the product is fit exactly to you.
Is this the dream? Is this?
Well, it's the dream, but it's probably not too far. Not for home necessarily 3D printing, but in general, right? So there's cars being 3D printed. At a recent car show, a whole car was printed in about 40 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of applications in healthcare, from printing heart valves that fit perfectly, to tooth implants, to all kinds of things, to even in confectionaries, to printing chocolate bars that are in just the right shape, right, with the heart and whatever your name on it.
Very cool.
So the applications are so widespread, and what we wanted to do is have our kids just really introduced to this technology, which is so transformational for the future. And when we looked out there at what was available in terms of 3D printers, we found either they were probably too expensive compared to what we wanted to pay or able to pay, really, as a family with a number of kids.
Well, they're traditionally used for commercial and industrial use.
Exactly, yeah, traditionally, and that's the other thing. Traditionally, they were that, you know, traditionally, typically you'll see they're very industrial looking, so big with lots of bolts and black, and looks like it should fit in a factory more than in the home. So we worked with some very talented engineers to put together, like 3D print engineers, to put together what we thought would be a good vision for a printer that we would love to have at home and have our kids be able to use, be safe enough, and fit in a home environment. And so we made, essentially what is the Poieo 3D. And we loved it so much, and our family loved it so much, and the market research that we did with other kind of families, they thought, it's great. So we thought, well, why not let other families benefit from that as well? And it's truly a great thing to have at home. Like, I mean, kids love to play with toys, obviously, but it's so much more rewarding when they can make their own toys as opposed to just buy them, right? And we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I mean, there's thousands and thousands of things you can download online and print out. But that was basically the foundation of how we got started.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Can you
Go ahead. Yeah.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask is how accurate the Poieo 3D is. And looking at these kinds of models, I assume that these were all printed on the Poieo 3D.
Correct. Yes.
The level of detail is incredible.
Yeah. So
see that at home. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but basically the way it works is you can open and close the jaw.
Yeah. So this is printed as multiple pieces?
Yeah, that's printed as 4 different pieces, the upper and lower part of the jaw, and then the stand is 2 different pieces.
Cool.
But the way the 3D printer works, you can imagine almost like you might build a skyscraper, where you build one level of the skyscraper at a time, and one builds on top of the other. Except
not that I've ever built a skyscraper.
Well,
but I understand the concept.
But you understand the concept,
yes.
Yeah. But the way it works is one level of our skyscraper, it's thin as a piece of paper. It's about 1/10 of a millimeter. So in terms of the precision, that's kind of how exact it is, like up and down, and left and right. It's pretty similar. It's that level of precision. So it's quite precise.
You've brought your son Matthew with you.
I did, yes.
And I see you've got both your hands. So this thing has got to be. I'm afraid of this with my kids because I've seen the laser cutters and the way that 3D printers work. How do you ensure that my kid is not going to? Hurt?
Well, I mean that's definitely one of the things that we took into account.
Let's talk about it in just a second. But Matthew, can I get you to actually show us how this thing works?
Sure.
Because I understand that this is a safe unit for kids to use.
Yeah, and easy too. That was the other aspect.
It's wide open. There's no glass here.
Yeah. It's wide open, but it's not so fast moving that the pinch point would create a big hazard.
You go ahead, Matthew.
But why don't you go ahead and start it?
Talk about the safety of this device.
Yeah, and what we've done is some 3D printers require an enclosed environment where it's kept very hot, or actually, Matthew will maybe show how it works.
Yeah. Actually, sorry, I don't mean to step on. I'm really interested in the safety of this, having 3 young kids at home. But this is neat. What software are you using here, Matthew?
The Poieo 3D software.
Oh, so you have a proprietary software that?
Yeah, it's a software that comes with it. So basically, I mean, you can speak to it, but he just kind of dragged in a part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, there's many parts. Yeah.
It looks very much like a Blender kind of. Blender 3D kind of interface. Yeah,
and then you can make things different sizes. You can scale them.
Yeah, you can size it like 0.3.
Can you see the screen
make it even smaller.
That's neat. Oh, so you can actually scale on the screen how big you want this thing to print?
Yeah. You can figure out how big you want it.
So is the idea I could buy this toy,
if you could find
we could have a Category 5 3D model logo.
Yeah.
And people with this printer could then print one and
exactly.
Have it on.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
And then you would just press run, and it would start heating up.
Starts heating up. How hot does this thing get? Am I going to get burnt sitting so close?
No, I don't think you have to really worry. The only thing that heats up is a tip that's right inside, and you can't actually really access it very easily. And it heats up, and it's almost a little bit like a hot melt glue gun, you can imagine. So that plastic that's coming out into the top warms up, and then takes the shape of wherever the printer moves around. So the printer
hot plastic. Is there any toxicity to?
No. So the material that we've chosen, it's actually it's something called polylactic acid, which is complicated, but what it is it's something made out of cornstarch or renewable resources. So essentially, what it's made out of is something that's biodegradable.
Yeah.
So if these things ever actually end up in the dump, they'll just biodegrade in a fairly
Really?
short period of time. Yeah.
That's good thinking because one of the things that I think with having a home 3D printer, I know my kids are going to get into the software. They're going to print 1,000 of these.
Yeah.
And Dad's going to come along and go, okay, well, what do we do with 1,000 of these?
Yeah.
And I don't want to see these kind of things filling up a landfill.
Well, that's exactly it, right? So they're almost like they'll biodegrade fairly quickly.
So what's happening right now?
So right now it has to come up to temperature so it builds so it can build the plastic.
Yeah.
And so it'll take a minute or so to do that, and eventually it'll start printing our little octopus.
Very cool. Matthew, do you mind grabbing that spool there?
Yeah.
Just so I can show the viewers at home.
Yeah.
Because you can't see this.
Yeah.
There's a wire of plastic going back to a spool that is run on the back of the printer, and it's all solid blue. And I see a solid yellow here.
Yeah, so this is solid yellow, and it almost looks like it's a little bit thicker than a fishing line.
Okay.
But it's closer to if you have a weed whacker, that kind of a line.
Okay. Yeah.
But the other interesting thing about this material is that it doesn't smell when it's heated. So for any of those people that have been in like a plastic factory and it really smells
that's what I'm
plasticky,
thinking, melted plastic.
you don't want that in your home, right? So it doesn't smell like that because of the material that it is and what it's made from. It doesn't give off an odor like that.
That's good because that's a smell that it gets in your furniture. It gets in.
Yeah, you don't want that in your home.
Never a good idea.
Absolutely.
So the accuracy of the printer, how is there a way that you measure? Like I think graphically, I think dots per inch, and how do you measure accuracy?
Yeah, so typically the way it's measured is in terms of how thick the resolution is. So in this case, our resolution is 0.1 of a millimeter, which ends up being...
That's small.
It's like a thickness of a piece of paper. And that's in the Z. And the XY directions, it's pretty similar.
Okay. Right, you've got to... This is totally different from printing. You've got to think in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, you got to think in all dimensions, right?
Yeah.
So you have accuracy this way and this way and this way, but it's quite accurate in all the different dimensions. And so you can see some of these parts.
Yeah. So this is levitated.
Yeah. So what happens is the platform comes up to the first.
How close in can we get here to see what's actually happening here?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it comes into the first layer.
Yeah.
And it'll start printing that, and then that platform moves down a little bit for each subsequent layer until it kind of prints out the whole piece of material. And you're asking about accuracy, so something like this. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but it's like a little.
Oh, look at that!
It's like a little robot, a little robot toy, and it printed in like one go basically.
Yeah.
And for it to be able to move after. Like all the little joints have to have a little space between them,
right?
And so it's accurate enough to keep such a little space that it still works.
So when this came off the printer, was it in this form?
That's it.
You didn't have to snap it together. You didn't have to.
No, it didn't snap together.
Folks.
You just have to spread it apart so it starts moving.
The hands move. The head moves.
The head moves. Yeah. And the interesting thing on that little piece too is you can change the color. So it was printing yellow, and then we just switched the color, and then it would print. The head would print out a different color
in one
fell swoop.
And it articulates.
Yeah, it articulates. Yeah. So there's so it's a fairly accurate machine to be able to do that. It's similar accuracy to what you'd see in the industrial printers, that are of the same type.
Okay. So the spools that you're using to do this, one of the things with 3D printing, I assume that there is a fair... You're looking at the consumables could potentially cost a fair bit of money.
One would think, but the other aspect that we're trying to do here is to make it affordable not only to purchase, but then to subsequently use, because obviously
that's the thing. You could buy one and then it'll sit on the shelf because it's too expensive to
like my color laser printer at home, that costs me more to buy the refills than it does to the original printer.
How does that make any sense?
But here it's not really that way. So a spool of material will cost probably about $25, but it'll run you a long way.
That big spool that we see there?
Yeah, a spool of that size. And any of these things that are on the table, like this little car, for example, that you can move and play around with.
Sure.
Probably about $2 of material.
Wow.
a little
And what's neat about
rose.
this, I mean, you think about a car and you think, okay, well, $2, so I can buy a car cheaper than. But the lesson that the kids are learning,
Yeah.
and the skills that they're developing in creating these 3D models, there's value in that as well.
Well, that's where we see the value is actually the kids learning about 3D modeling themselves.
Yeah.
And if we had more time, we could do it as well. But I mean, Matthew, for example, he printed out his own nameplate,
Okay.
or made bookmarks with your name kind of cut into it.
So, Matthew, how do you
For
go
his
about
friends
that?
at
Are
school.
you creating 3D models yourself?
Yeah.
Does the software assist you with that?
Well, there's another software that I use to make it my own.
Yeah. So you can create
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
products and.
Or like a cup, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a cup and things like that. So the kids are not only learning, to make toys,
Yeah.
but it's an investment actually into their future, so they can conceptualize, 3D shapes and models, and actually learn the skills that one day, as they grow up and kind of enter, society as productive human beings, they'll be able to actually use those skills down the road as well.
You mentioned cups, just as a bit of a side question that raises. Is the product safe to drink out of, for example, or
it's more for show?
cups.
And I mean, my daughter has some cups for her dolls, like a little tea set and so forth.
Cool. All right.
But I mean, as long as it's not hot, I mean, you wouldn't want to put hot coffee, but just for water
Just
and
like any
things like that.
plastic, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it would be fine for that.
Cool. How much is this whole kind of kit to get started and get you set up?
Yeah, to get started, so right now we're offering our customers a pre-order. So as we get started, and that will cost in Canadian dollars $649, including tax, which gets you started as the printer, a roll of filament,
Yeah.
and the software that you need to get started. So you just start that. And we're also developing another aspect that we think is important is the education around this.
Yeah, I'm curious about when Matthew's talking about creating his own products and things. Like how, if I sat down with this, I would be a little bit lost with 3D software.
That's it. Yeah.
How do you go about?
Well, that's
letting
it.
people know how to use the product.
Yes, this is what we're doing. Is we're developing, and as part of the package will be kind of this online education center that we'll offer our customers, where there'll be kind of a lifetime of material in terms of how to use the product, how to do little projects, how to get started, how to troubleshoot, or how to do little projects like this where you can scan your child's head. Right,
Really?
to create a bust and then print it out, and then
Could you do the President of the United States?
You could, yeah. So you can make your own bobblehead if you really want.
So how did you do this, Matthew?
You would have a app on the iPhone, and you would take pictures all around.
With your iPhone?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So you didn't need a Kinect sensor or anything to do a
No.
3D bust?
No, yeah. So
at
yeah,
that.
so there's an app for iPhones where you can, or Android, I'm sure as well, where you can. You take pictures around, and it creates a 3D image that you can then print after. So it's projects like
And that's
that where we can
importable
create.
into-
Yeah, you can import it. Yeah,
See, that-
exactly.
That for the educational aspect of
Yeah.
doing a project like that,
Yeah.
really makes me think of this in the educational sector, especially as 3D printing and manufacturing is flowing toward 3D printed parts for automobiles, as you mentioned, and
for anything,
pretty much anything, machine parts, and everything is going that way. And there's there are those that have been in the trade for many years who see it as when ATMs came in, the banks all didn't like it because they were losing tellers. And so here, tradespeople lose jobs to 3D printing, but the new generation with something like this in the classroom can be trained with the skill set in order to be able to take those jobs that are operating these new machines. It's just it's the same job. It's just a different way of doing it.
It's people doing different things. Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely see this as an important area. And the other thing that we're looking to do is develop educational programs that will fit with the curriculum at school.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can imagine some of the different endpoints that exist in the curriculum. Like, for example, there might be a section on gears and pulleys.
Right.
Right. So when did you do that in grade 4 or 5? So you can imagine it's great to see that in the classroom. How a gear and pulley might work in a textbook.
Yeah.
And a picture's worth 1,000 words. So you can imagine if the children are actually able to create their own
Things like that.
gears, right, and put them together and make them work.
No.
Yeah, make them work. It's a lot more educational, right? And in terms of a lot more interactive for the teacher to be able to communicate the different lessons that are required. Or here we have the bones of a dinosaur, but same thing when the children are learning about biology. You could print bones of the body or body parts or structures just to make it more interactive and interesting in terms of the learning experience. So I think it's a great product to have in schools, and really every school I think should benefit from 3D printing.
Yeah, I think that's really neat. And I'm really impressed with the quality of the products that are coming out of this. I never expected the wrench, for example. I just noticed that this is articulating too. Like this, this works as a toy wrench.
Yeah, and it prints actually in one go, the whole thing.
Unreal.
Yeah,
and
it's
we've
very
got
interesting.
Something that looks like a phone case.
Yeah, exactly.
I just clued in that. Oh, that's not just cool gears. That's
you can put your phone in there if you have an iPhone.
Make your own phone case.
Yeah, so there's lots of models to make phones.
Yeah.
Or holders for your car for phones, or I don't know, you're coaching and you forget your whistle. You can actually print your own whistle. And here we made a fun one, a little whistle that has like 3 whistles together, so you can create your own, and you can blow it. You can make music. So you can
I've
make
never seen anything like that.
Yeah, you've never seen, right? So
something you put on a store shelf.
Yeah, something interesting. So again, it's a learning experience also for kids to be able to put things together that maybe didn't exist before.
Looking at the product, it's moving around here. There's a lot of movement. This thing is moving up and down. There's a few wires here. It's pretty simple in its design.
Yeah.
Looks fairly robust. What happens if I have problems with the product?
Well, we do stand behind the quality of our product, and are offering a 12-month warranty for people.
Okay.
For our customers. So if they have problems, we will have a service here locally in the Toronto area.
Okay.
So definitely, it's not something where where if there is an issue, we will stand behind the product, and are building a quality product. So there are moving parts, but it.
Is it user serviceable? Would you say that?
There's certain things that are probably user serviceable, other things less so, and it depends how technical you are. But
I'm noticing, for example, there are standard fans for the cooling system.
Yeah.
That you can pick up at a hardware store. And
you would,
if
but
the fan ball bearings went out.
Yeah.
Take out 4 screws and put in a new one.
You could, but I wouldn't expect that to happen. Like you don't really, you shouldn't need to service them too often.
Sure. Yeah, it looks fairly robust, eh?
Yeah, and the only thing that you need to do is change your filament as you're changing colors, and the software is set up to make that easy to do. So you basically click a button and just follow the steps, and you just pull it out, put a new one in.
Now this has been printing for what about?
For a few minutes, yeah, I don't know.
There's absolutely no aroma coming off this wall. There's no smoke. There's no heat apparent. I can't feel any heat. I can't sense any heat.
No.
But the smell, there's no smell at all.
No, there isn't. Yeah, you won't find any smell in your home. And this is the other thing. You mentioned lasers or whatever.
Can you guys see that? It's almost.
It's coming there. Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's kind of neat to see. That's the amazing thing, right? You see it's something created in front of your eyes that before was just something you couldn't feel or touch, right?
Yeah.
So you have. This is the other thing. There's games like Minecraft that are so popular.
Yeah.
And our kids love them as well. And it's interesting to have everything in space and in the computer, but you can actually print out like the little house or whatever that you built, and then have a physical
in Minecraft and
have a physical.
There you go.
Realization of it afterward. Yeah. Cool. So it's very, very neat. I think it finished off.
I can take it off.
Okay,
yeah, so it's fairly slow, and then Matthew can.
No, but I like it. It's almost it's revealing.
It's revealing itself. Yes.
So is it safe for me to touch it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it hot or melty?
No, it won't be. It won't be too hot. There's a cooling fan that cools it.
I'm not gonna damage it or anything.
No. Well, what you have to do is you have to take this whole tray out.
I can take it off.
This is the other thing. It's
kind of stuck to it.
Yeah. Some of the printers you can have to chisel things off, but here you would just.
Oh, it's on there pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to stay on, so it. take off some
Isn't that
extraneous
cool?
hairs and stuff. But there you
Okay,
go.
so Tom, how
There you
can
have the
we
little part.
how can we find out more about this this device?
Well, I mean, probably the easiest place to go is on our website, which is www.poieo3d.com. And there's more information there on the site about the product, some other details about specifications, and also certainly if interested to buy. So right now we are doing pre-orders through Kickstarter. So if you go into the section that says "Buy Now," it'll direct you into where you can get the great deal today.
Very good. Kickstarter creates this big long URL. What we've done for you at home, just to make it simple to get there, cat5.tv/3D print. And that's going to take you to the Kickstarter campaign.
Okay,
now,
perfect.
if I'm not in the market to buy a 3D printer right now,
Yep.
I understand the merits of this, the value of this to the education sector, to home users,
Yep.
and I want to support what you're doing. How can I go about that on the Kickstarter campaign?
Well, on the Kickstarter campaign, we do have lower levels of support other than purchasing a printer by itself. And, there's rewards starting anywhere, I think, at about, a few dollars. And for about $20, you'll get a 3D printed part.
Cool.
And so there's different levels where people can, start providing support if they do want to just support the whole campaign for us to be able to bring this into the realization of homes and families around the world, really.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I have to raise the question, because I know my chat room is wondering this right now.
Yeah.
I see the software that you're running is on Microsoft Windows.
Yes.
Is there support or planned support for,
For Mac?
and Linux?
Yeah, so there's the software once we've once we have the production model done,
Yeah.
we're porting it into Mac as well.
Okay.
So that's definitely
Any plans
there.
for Linux support?
And Linux support could be ported into Linux as well.
Okay.
It's not the immediate plan, but the nice thing.
Let's cast our vote right now.
But let's cast your vote. Yeah, I'm sure your viewers are probably. I see all the Ubuntu stickers everywhere. It's definitely feasible. The other thing is that although we have software that we've built for this,
Yeah.
we haven't locked it down. So there's shareware software that you can use. So
Is
we
the
haven't.
source available, or is it?
Yeah, it's
Really?
open source. Yeah, so we haven't locked things up, and there are some companies that have done that.
Yeah.
And again, just for the learning experience and for letting it kind of grow, but we don't feel that's the right direction we want to go.
Sure.
So there's software available for 3D printing in Linux, and you can use it with this printer as well. So you can use your
So
own
it will
software.
connect to Linux
Yeah,
in its
absolutely.
current
Yeah.
state using
yeah.
other software?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just
because I
open
can
source
see,
software.
Again, looking back at education, thinking about colleges, universities that
Exactly.
are doing that kind of thing and working with open source technologies.
Yep.
I think Linux is a big player in that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Well, I'm speaking with Tom Zelenka and his son Matthew about this amazing Poieo 3D printer. You can check them out on Kickstarter right now. It's cat5.tv/3D print. We printed something here today, and it didn't take too long to do. We can print much larger objects. Of course, we're limited to time, so we created something fairly small, but really impressive detail. Really cool. I presume you can paint them and things
You can paint them like
bust here
the
has been
bust.
painted.
Yeah.
Very cool. Is there anything else that we can cover tonight that you want people to know about your company?
Well, I think I think certainly if there's any questions, I want them to reach out to us. We're definitely open. There's also a contact us page there if people have questions that they want to know more about the printer, how to use it, or how to get in touch with us. We're definitely open to being responsive and getting back to our potential customers. And just hoping everybody has a great holiday coming up, and hopefully we can fulfill some of those wishes with our printer.
Sounds great. This is really cool. I thank you for bringing this into Category 5 TV today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
This is a really neat product, and you guys are based in Toronto, Ontario?
Correct. Richmond Hill, actually, but yes.
Richmond Hill? Okay.
Yeah.
And when are these available now? Can I get one now if I wanted it?
Well, you can pre-order right now, and we're going into manufacturing in January.
Great.
So the deliveries would be about April.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to post all the links for you in the show notes just below here in the comment section on YouTube as well. So if you have any questions, we'll have the links for you there. But don't forget to check out cat5.tv/3D print. This is a great looking product. this is so cool. It's smaller than a microwave. I don't know if you can really grasp the size of this, but there's my elbow, there's my fingers. So, hold out your arm. That's the size of it. It's nice and small, nice and compact. So
It's a good form factor for
it really
fitting,
is.
even in your kids' room, like in the desk, if they have like the overhead
True.
bookcase, like it
And is that
fits in
safe
there
to do?
nice.
There's no. I don't see.
No.
There's no fans or anything
No,
blowing out.
no,
There's
no.
nothing. No heat. No.
Yeah,
Very cool.
it doesn't get very hot, so.
Final thoughts, Matthew. What are your thoughts about this product? What could you see your friends using this for?
Well, I could see them using it for maybe printing out stuff they might give to their brother or sister for a present
Yeah.
if they don't have the money to buy it, or other things like that.
Are we going to run into new copyright issues with this kind of thing?
Well, you know what? There's things like, you can print blocks that are compatible with Lego.
On here?
Yeah. So it's not necessarily so
You do realize that Lego costs more than this printer.
I know it. Well, that's the thing, but it's not necessarily to take over Lego. But the one frustrating thing when I was a kid, and I'm sure Matthew finds it too, is you have that nice Lego set, but there's that one block that you lost that's in the vacuum cleaner somewhere.
Sure.
So you can download that one block and print it out, and you can actually build that rocket ship or whatever it was. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see how that comes into play. But certainly the custom models and everything are exciting.
it's very exciting, yeah. And like I said, there's two ways to get models. One is to build them yourself, like if
I can see
if you're a
hobbyists.
kid, right? Hobbyists
Absolutely.
doing it themselves, or architects, or
Yeah.
whoever else, or designers, or even kids. Or there's thousands and thousands of models available, like all of these ones that you've seen here,
Yeah.
except for the bust, where came just downloaded off the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all free, right?
Very
So
cool.
it's very neat. So people share and there's great source
Whole
of
new
information.
communities
It's a whole
created.
community, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for being here. Thanks for sharing your product with us.
Yeah,
Very
my
excited
pleasure,
about
yeah.
the Poieo 3D.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks. Sasha, off to you in the newsroom.
Wow, that is an awesome printer. I just can't imagine the things you could do. You could make braille nameplates. You can make eyeglass frames. I love it. Now I have added something to my Christmas list. But on to the news. It's Tuesday, December 9th, 2014, and here are the stories we're covering this week. The recent Sony Pictures hack attack has revealed a fatal flaw in the company's security practices, storing private information in unprotected Microsoft Excel files. IBM hopes to reuse old laptop batteries to power LED lights in the slums of India. Chip maker Imagination have unveiled a rival for the Raspberry Pi microcomputer, and it starts shipping next month. And the best of the BioShock series may be coming to Linux if the Steam database indicator is any indicator. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
This is the story of Operation Christmas Child. To some, it may just be a shoebox, but to millions, it is the start of the greatest journey. Traveling the world, sent with prayer. Shoebox gifts fill the hearts of children from over 100 different countries with hope, faith, and love.
It's Tuesday, October 21st, 2014. I'm Sasha Dermatis, and here are the top stories from the Category 5.tv newsroom. The situation surrounding a recent Sony Pictures hack continues to worsen for the studio, with a new batch of documents having been released by the hackers that includes thousands of usernames and passwords. This includes a file directory simply called Password, which includes, according to BuzzFeed, 139 Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, zip files, and PDFs containing thousands of passwords to Sony Pictures' internal computers, social media accounts, and web service accounts. One file the site found included hundreds of clearly labeled Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, and Twitter usernames and passwords for major motion picture social accounts. Others are for corporate news and research services and more. The hackers, a group calling itself Guardians of Peace, have also released personal information garnered from the attack. That includes the social security numbers of more than 47,000 current and former employees, as well as stars, including Sylvester Stallone, director Judd Apatow, and actress Rebel Wilson. actors, freelancers, and others. According to MarketWatch, an analysis of 33,000 Sony documents by data security consulting firm Identity Finder LLC found personal data, including the salaries and home addresses posted online for people who stopped working at Sony Pictures as far back as 2000 and one who started in 1955.
You got to be kidding me.
It's insane.
That's ridiculous.
Could you imagine? Like, we're storing personal information about famous actors, celebrities, staff members, thousands upon thousands of them in Excel spreadsheets without passwords. No encryption.
Yay.
We've been over this in the show. I mean, that's bad practice for you at home, let alone a big company like Sony Pictures. Get hacked, compromised, all of a sudden. Guess what? Oh, we got a copy of your spreadsheet that has everything?
No. This is a story.
Really?
This is a story for Password Box.
Yeah, I'll say.
The hack has once again brought to the spotlight the risk that companies face in the digital age, where highly sensitive corporate and personal information can be stolen, especially when not properly secured. MarketWatch reports that much of the data analyzed by Identity Finder was stored in Microsoft Excel files without password protection. Wow. Jeez, Robbie, you have to link them up with Password Box.
I know. I mean, come on. I'm just like this right now.
Like, Sony, what are you thinking?
I know. Sony, come on. You make good movies, but you're dumb.
Here's great technological news.
Oh, good.
IBM's India-based research team has claimed that old laptop batteries still have enough life in them to power homes in slums. An IBM study analyzed a sample of discarded batteries and found 70% had enough power to keep an LED light on for more than 4 hours a day for an entire year.
Really?
Yeah. Researchers said that using discarded batteries is cheaper than existing power options and also helps deal with the mounting e-waste problem. The concept was trialed in the Indian city of Bangalore this year, and the adapted power packs are expected to prove popular with street vendors who are not on the electrical grid, as well as poor families living in the slums. If the recycled units, which would last a year, are made in sufficiently large volume, researchers estimate the price per unit at just 600 rupees, which is just under $10 US. The researchers are aiming to help the approximately 400 million people in India who are off-grid. That is incredible news.
If I'm hearing you right, a year of light
Yes.
from recycled batteries for $10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Batteries that have been discarded as unusable
Right.
for what we use them for would power an LED light bulb for 4 hours a day for an entire year. And really, I mean, after the sun goes down, how long do you need a light bulb for, right?
True enough.
That's a great advance.
That's good. Very good.
That's really cool.
British chip designer Imagination has produced a bare-bones computer to compete with the Raspberry Pi. Called the Creator CI-20, the board has a more powerful processor than the Pi, more memory, and more onboard storage. For its graphics, it uses a version of the Imagination chip that is also found inside Apple's iPad tablet. The small computer enters a growing and competitive market, with the Raspberry Pi already having sold almost 4 million units. Like its rivals, the C120 can run many different versions of open source operating system Linux, and it also can run the latest edition of Google's Android mobile operating system. It also has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth for wireless data connections. By contrast, the BeagleBone Black and the Raspberry Pi B+ devices have only Ethernet connectors built in. Tony King-Smith, a spokesman for Imagination, said the CI-20 was aimed at people who wanted a high-performance board for their development projects. The CI-20 will cost £50, around $65, and can be ordered now, though the first units will not be sent out until next month. Now, Robbie, I don't know a lot about Raspberry Pi or CI-20, so what would be used for in daily?
A Raspberry Pi, for example, it's a very, very tiny computer. So this is the computer itself, which we're going to be playing with here on the show. We're just working on what projects we're going to do. But, I mean, imagine a self-contained computer that's this big. So it's got everything that you need. And as they say, the Raspberry Pi has Ethernet, but no built-in Wi-Fi. So you've got to buy a separate kind of thing in order to have Wi-Fi. But it's a computer, so you can do things like build your own home theater PC. Right? It's got HDMI output, so you can do HD video. You could build whatever. I mean, I'm thinking we're going to build a web server, for example, just as a test run to see how it will perform, do a fun project.
Yeah.
Build something that can be mounted on the back of a monitor, so you've got a self-contained all-in-one computer. Maybe it's touchscreen and you go through USB, and now you've got a controller as well, and it becomes a kiosk. So it's really down to your creativity, what you can do with something like this. So with the new one from Imagination being powered by the same kind of architecture that they use in the iPads, it's going to be pretty fast. I would think the performance would be really quite good.
Yeah.
And so then you get into maybe it becomes something that could be used to build, for example, your own video game console that you could create emulators on or something like that, because you've got more power, it's more robust, it's got more memory and more storage space, so you've got the ability to do more, just as you would expect.
That's incredible. Building your own video game console.
That would be neat.
Speaking
with the size of it, I could build it into a controller.
Yes. Speaking of people who love video games, BioShock Infinite is considered the best game in the series and is one of the most acclaimed titles launched in 2013. And by the looks of it, it's coming to Linux.
All right.
Yeah.
BioShock Infinite features a very interesting storyline, and it was brought to life by one of the characters in the game, Elizabeth. The studio has been praised for implementing a very human interaction between the main character and Elizabeth, which made all the difference for this title. 4K Games has already brought a number of the titles to its catalog, to the open source platform, like the Borderlands series, the Civilization series, and even the latest XCOM. It was just a matter of time until some of the other titles would get the same treatment. The Steam database is a record of data describing every Steam game and subscription provided by Valve for the Steam service. Usually, the new entries are first visible in the Steam database before they are officially launched, and they should be released on all supported platforms at once. But there is no guarantee that that will actually happen. That said, the Linux version of BioShock Infinite is listed, so we're very hopeful. That is great news for the Linux world. For all your tech news with a slight Linux bias, visit the Category5.tv newsroom at newsroom.category5.tv. For the Category5.tv newsroom, I'm Sasha Dermatis.
Thank you, Sasha. This is Category 5 Technology TV. I'm your host, Robbie Ferguson.
And I'm Kelsey Jensen. And of course, Category5.tv is a member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Cat5.tv/TPN and the International Association of Internet Broadcasters, cat5.tv/IAIB.
Would you like to get your hands on a limited edition Category5.tv t-shirt or hoodie?
Yes, please.
You notice that last week we said that the campaign was ending. Well, Teespring said we can actually print up until this Thursday, and you'll still get it in time for Christmas. So go to teespring.com/category5. Up until Thursday, you've got to place your order. Now, I'll just make a mention, because of the way that the campaign had ended and then restarted, if you had already placed an order with the original campaign, you need to actually go back to teespring.com/category5 and replace your order. And thank you very much for supporting Category 5 Technology TV in that way. The shirts look great, so you definitely want to get your hands on one if you're a fan of the show. In the meantime, tonight, I would love to check out some of your viewer comments and questions that have been sent in. I'm going to give Kelsey just a short break here. All right. This first one comes in from Bert. Bert says, I like your show. Thank you, Bert. Says, Robbie, you make me laugh. And then I learn about computers more. All right. That's good. Thanks for the show. I've been watching you guys for over a year now. That's from Bert, a.k.a. Bear55. Bert, thank you very much for sending in your kind comments. Glad we're able to have a fun time with you, make you laugh, make you smile, and also help you to learn about your computer and what you can do with it. Some of the cool open source technologies that we try to put a focus on as well. Appreciate you sending that in. Thank you, Bert. Question from Phil, a.k.a. the Albuquerque Turkey. Hey, ABQTKY. Call you that for old time's sake. Robbie, thanks for reading my anguished tale of woe earlier this week. Sorry, the inflection is completely wrong. Robbie, thank you for reading my anguished tale of woe earlier this week. Fortunately, the weeping and gnashing of teeth here in Albuquerque has abated. All my documents and such are fine. The OS from Ubuntu to Mint 17.1 is also fine. And the minimize, maximize, close doohickeys, to use the technical term, hey Albuquerque turkey, they are up on the right-hand side of the window where they're supposed to be. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. See, when companies change the paradigm, doesn't it mess with us? Doesn't matter if it's just moving the minimize button to the left, which, I'm fine with that, but because that's a pretty minimal change. But I don't like the whole paradigm changing when it comes to the desktop. Windows 8, the original release of Windows 8 is the perfect example of that, and that's why our video that Hillary and I made, how to make Windows 8 look and feel like Windows 7, why that video is doing so well on YouTube. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. And it's certainly appropriate as people are getting, computers for Christmas that have Windows 8.1 on them, and they are, the paradigm, they may not use that term, but the desktop, the start menu, everything has changed. I don't know where to find anything. So change it back. Make it work the way that it's supposed to be, as Albuquerque Turkey says. So, yeah, I hear you there. Okay, during the hours and hours of intense staring at my monitor, I seem to have noticed a couple of things. I seem to have hundreds, if not thousands, of thumbnails. I've got I have downloaded a lot of photos, but I don't think that I've downloaded that many. It would seem that they are carefully hidden away somewhere, like cache, thumbnails, normal, blah, 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 .jpg. The file names appear to be generated by the system. I sure didn't choose thousands of random appearing alphanumeric gibberish strings. If I could think up crazy file names like that, I'd use them as passwords. All right. Let's address that for you, Albuquerque Turkey. Okay, you'll be happy to hear that this is normal behavior for Linux. And what this shows me is that you're starting to play around with the system, find your way around the file system, look at Linux under the hood, which is a good thing. You're seeing things that, why are all those thumbnails there? Why have I got thousands upon thousands of thumbnails? So let me just bring up, I'm going to bring up a folder on my desktop from tonight's show. Sasha, I'll just use the images from the news segment. So, 1 second here for you, Albuquerque Turkey. Okay, so I've got up on my screen here, if I can find the button, there we go. Here are the pictures that we used in the newsroom tonight. So, you'll see that there are nice little thumbnails, and if I change the view size, they go all the way from this size up to there. And you'll see as I get larger here, Albuquerque Turkey, what do you notice? The thumbnails, even though they are of varying different sizes and they're very good quality at every level. Like, they don't look scaled, or they're quite good. That is because Nautilus, the system here that I'm using to, now I'm on Point Linux, so it's called Kaja, but it is Nautilus, just kind of renamed because this is a mate-driven operating system. I love saying mate because every time somebody says, it's mate, I said, then put an accent aigu on the E, and then I'll be happy. Until then, I will rebel. So when I'm looking at my folders like that, so I've browsed, you've downloaded the images, you browse to the folder, and I see all of these thumbnails. It's not actually just scaling the full-sized image, so I'm not just getting this picture rescaled as I would when I do, this kind of thing with this program, right? Zooming in and out. What actually happens there is it creates thumbnails that it stores on your hard drive. All right. Why would Linux do that? That takes up so much space. For every image, I've got 10 images. Well, for one, images are quite small these days, and hard drives are comparatively huge. So it's okay. We've got lots of space to work with, and Linux, as you know, is very good at maintaining things like temp folders, caches. So as Linux detects that okay, I need to reduce the amount of space used by the thumbnails, it's going to ebb and flow with how much space it uses. So that's okay. So why does it do it? Performance. You look at a folder that has 1,000 images in it, and I do this all the time because I take pictures. Well, tonight is a good example. We've got a camera right here, the D5100. I call it the intervalometer because it's got a built-in intervalometer. So it takes a picture every 10 seconds. So we're sitting here, and snap, 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 it's taking pictures. And then at the end of the night, I'm going to go through, as I do every week, and I pick from those pictures some of the best pictures, and those become the images that we use for the show. So how do I go through them? Well, it would be a nightmare to bring them up. You know, imagine if I had to go like this and say, okay, no, not that one, next, no, not that one, next, oh yeah, let's use that one, right click, save as, and go through that kind of nightmarish scenario. So the performance of having that many images, I end up with probably about, I don't know, 1,000 images or so at the end of the night. Somebody's going to do the math and say, no, you're completely wrong if it's every 10 seconds. But essentially, I end up with a ton of images. So having the thumbnails perform like lickety-split is a good way to do it, because then when I'm looking at my folders, it's going to work really, really fast. So don't be concerned about all those thumbnails that you're finding. They're stored there as temporary cache files to improve the performance of your computer when you are browsing for different various images. And it's intelligent. Linux is smart, so it knows what it's doing. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Okay. Back to Albuquerque. Turkey says, another thing I saw repeatedly, but I'm not going to admit that, during these hours of backups and restores and ancient versions of stuff like ISOs and previous distros. And then we got some Latin. Okay. So you've got Mint 14, Mint 13, Point Linux ISO files. You deleted those long ago. They appear in these trash folders, in user folder, local, share, trash files. The junk at least has readable file names. Could it be that I am emptying emptying the trash doesn't actually remove stuff, kind of like Gmail or Yahoo Mail? These items took a long time to back up and restore, so they seem to actually still be on my drive. If the deleted file names are just stubs, how could they take so long to back up or restore? Long enough that they seem to be actual ISO files. They are ISO files. Pardon me. All right. Once again, you're digging into the file system of your Linux machine. I like it. So let's go to home local. So I'm in home/Robbie/local. So to you, to get there is something like that. So you type that into your Nautilus or Kaja or whatever you're using, hit enter, and it's going to take you to this folder. It's the same thing as what I had typed up there. So go into share, go into trash, and then you see files. Well, how come I've got files here? Right. So if I actually delete something, it's going to put it here. But why is that happening? Again, Linux is being intelligent for us, and it's keeping user trash bins separated from one another. So if I am logged in as Robbie, my trash is different from somebody logged in as Kelsey. So, if you log in as Albuquerque Turkey, well, your trash is going to be different than the other users on your system. So if you empty your trash as root, say, for example, or as another user, maybe you're not logging in as root, maybe you're using another user on the system, it's not going to clear the trash in this one. So the files remain. And these are not pointers to the files. These are actual files. So this is Sasha's desk that I created and deleted. And so those files, unless you empty each user's trash bin, you're going to still have those files residing on your computer. It's as simple as that. So you need to empty the trash for that user as well. And root has its own trash. And again, it just keeps things separated. It keeps it performing well. And it gives you access to your own trash bin when you log in. So it's actually a good thing. Okay. Thanks, Albuquerque Turkey. One final question from Albuquerque Turkey says, this one's probably for your daughter. Where did the toads, the little frogs, whatever they are, where do those little critters from just outside Studio D, right out this door here, where do they go in the winter? I have no idea. So who better to answer your question? By the way, thank you for watching Category 5's Backstage Pass series on the build of Studio D. Obviously, you were paying attention. Who better to answer that question than Tally?
Thank you for sending in such an interesting question, Albuquerque, Turkey. And I think I might have the answer. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. During the cold winter months, a frog sleeps underground. During the warmer months, he stores up as much fat as it can to survive the wintry weather. When the frog gets the cold chill, it digs into the mud and sleeps there all winter long. Thank you for watching Backstage Pass.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time left, but just checking out our Twitter feed, go to twitter.com/category5tv. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you send us some posts to our attention. Last week we had some audio issues as we introduced new software, and we're trying to get through some audio issues. We actually created new ones. Welcome to Category 5 Technology TV. You at home didn't notice that unless you were watching live, because we actually restarted the show. It was that bad. But you'll see that some of our Twitter followers had made mention of it. You can follow us on Twitter, Category 5 TV. Make sure you send us messages to our attention, and they may get featured on the show as well. Also, just making mention that we are now on Wirecast 6 from cat5.tv/Wirecast. Make sure you check out that cool software. It performs fantastically well. I was talking to Telestream this week just to let them know that the new software is wonderful. So we're very excited to be showing you that over the course of the next few weeks. Next week, we've got Hillary Rumble going to be here in studio with us. And also, we are giving away these Vive alkaline water pitchers. And let's see. Whiskey Zero said, I tried finding Vive on the internet, and it was tough finding it in Google. Well, there's the spelling for you. It's VYV, so VYVwater.ca. Go there. You'll see the bullet list at the right-hand side of about the product. Tell me the third bullet point. Email it to contest@category5.tv along with your shipping address, so that if you win that, we're going to be able to send it to you. It's a water alkalizer, water filter. It adjusts the pH level of the water, so it's basically like drinking a sports drink without the calories, without the sugar, and it's water, but it's been improved through alkalinity and adjusted pH. So you definitely want to check them out. ViveWater.ca.
Do that.
One final mention, as I know we're short on time. Rachel Hsu is a co-host here on Category 5 who stops in once in a while. She's not a regular co-host, but she fills in and is part of the show family. And her, along with my wife, Becca, they have written a book called The Attic. And I promised you that I would let you know when this has come to print, because we actually did a little bit of the publication here on the show at Category 5. So that's what it ended up looking like. It's ready to go. You can get it on Amazon, whatever your Amazon is, whether you go to .com.ca, .co.uk, make sure you pick up a copy of The Attic. Or you can also go to our shop if you want to buy it through us and support the show. It still go through Amazon, but you go to shop.category5.tv, and then you'll be supporting the show when you buy it. It's also available for Kindle. If you've got a Kindle, or if you're getting one for Christmas, make sure you pick up a copy of The Attic by Rachel Hsu and Becca Ferguson. So what's it about? Well, you can read the synopsis itself on our website, on Amazon as well, but basically consider Gothic mansion, a lot of mystery, a lot of fantasy, and a lot of, hey, what is going on here? What is lurking in the attic? The room that everyone keeps Lily Klein from entering. Here's an excerpt for you. Imagine the scene is in this Gothic mansion, okay? Lily approached the portrait of her grandfather and stood studying it once more. The bottom right-hand corner of the molded frame caught her eye this time. It was shinier than the rest of it, as though the dust had been rubbed off by a finger. Or was it just the way the sunlight was hitting it, or a trick of the eye? Heartbeat picking up a notch, she reached out and touched her fingertips to the shiny edge of the frame, pressing into it. A swish sounded, and cold air moved over her right side. She pivoted toward the draft. A tall opening had appeared in the wall, a twisted stairway beyond it. Heart beating wildly now, she stepped through toward the unlit room. Check it out. Go to shop.category5.tv to get a copy of The Attic, written by our very own Rachel Shue and Becca Ferguson. It's all the time we have, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
Can't believe it, folks. Time flies.
Yes.
Really, it was a lot of fun having Tom Zelenka and his son Matthew here from Poieo 3D. Thanks for being here on the show. Thanks for showing us your incredible product. And make sure, don't forget, go check out their campaign. See if you can throw $20, $40 in the pot to help support this thing. Or if you're in the market for a 3D printer, that is an available option for you as well. You can pre-order, and they will be shipping next year. That is cat5.tv/3D print. So thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks, Kelsey.
Thank you.
I know it was kind of all interview tonight, so we didn't get to say much, but really appreciate having you here. And Adam, thank you for being here. Sasha, as always, have a wonderful week, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Category 5 TV broadcasts live from Barrie, Ontario, Canada every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching this on demand or through cable TV, check out the local show times in your area at category5.tv and find out when you can watch live and interact in the community chat room. Category 5 is a production of Prodigy Digital Solutions and is licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 2.5 Canada. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.